Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Distance Learning. I'm your host, Mr. White, and today we are looking at common factoring. Common factoring is the opposite of the distributive property. So division is the opposite of multiplication. Subtraction is the inverse. When in math we use instead of the word opposite, we say inverse operation. So subtraction is the inverse operation of addition. So let me show you. If I have 7 and I add 3, I get 10. But then if I take that 10 and subtract the 3, I go back to 7. So this plus and minus 3 are inverse operations. They undo each other. So common factoring is going to be an inverse of the distributive property. Now let's think about the distributive property here for a minute. Very simply, most simple example I can think of is a monomial times a binomial. So the monomial is going to go in and it's going to be 3 times 2, which is going to give me 6x. And it's going to be 3 times 5, which is going to give me 15. So that is the distributive property. Now if I start with a monomial times a binomial, I use the distributive property to get this expression. Now again, this equal sign does not mean left hand side equals right hand side. I can't move the 15 over. I can't divide by 6. This equal sign simply means that what's above it is equal to what's below it. It is not a left hand side equals a right hand side. That's not what's happening here, okay? We can't try to solve for x or anything like that. It's just a statement. Okay, so what about going the opposite way? Let's say I started off with 6x plus 15. Well, if we think about what's in the 6x, there's going to be a 3 times a 2 times an x. 3 times 2 is 6, and the x gives me 6x. If I think about the 15, there's a 3 times a 5. So what I've done is I've rewritten what's up here in terms of its products. So remember, a product is the answer to a multiplication question. So 3 times 2 times x is 6x. 3 times 5 is 15. But you'll notice that both this term, so that's one term, that's another term, and they're separated by a plus sign, an add or subtract. These two terms both have something in common. They both have a multiple of 3 in them. Okay, so this term has a multiple of 3 and this one here has a multiple of 3. So what we do is we say, okay, we'll take that multiple of 3 on the outside, and what we'll be left with is everything divided by that multiple with the multiple of 3 on the outside of the brackets. So this 3 and this 3 got brought out to here, and what's left is whatever this was without the 3, whatever this was without the 3. And notice, if this whole process is called common factoring, and it's called common factoring because they both have the common multiple of 3, and we factor it out, factoring being the word to meaning the opposite of multiplying, distributing. So we factor it out, and if we were to move forward, this 3 times 2 again would give me 3 times 2 times x is 6x, and 3 times 5 would give me 15. So in essence, what we're showing here is that 6x plus 15 can be written like this, or it could be written like that. There is no difference in the equality. Coming this way, bringing that factor out in front is called common factoring. And that's what we're going to practice today.